So, initially, I wanted to do the whole evolution of the whole entertainment industry, but I was like, meh, too much work. Because I would have had to go from the first recorded story of Gilgamesh all the way to Frozen, and that would have been a pain in my rear. So I was like, oh, let's just eliminate it down to electronic entertainment. Now, when I researched electronic entertainment, it just kept saying it was video games. And me, I was like, man, that would be boring. So I decided, well, let's just include things that run on electricity, such as the films, internet, and video games. So I decided to just go with all three of them together, and then just do it in the past 100 years, so that way again I wouldn't have to go over everything. Okay, the first film, now this was my hard part with the films. Basically, how would I judge a film? What would be the first film? Would it just be pictures moving fastly to create motion? So I was like, let's just do that. So that led me to the 1877 version made by Edward Muybridge, whose name I just probably killed, why his mother just named him Edward. But anyway, basically, through capturing a horse running, he then flipped the pictures in order to create an animation of sorts of the horse running, and to answer the question, anyone can actually capture a horse's feet hitting the ground when it was running, and he did it. And that just leads me to the middle years, and how far it's come in that time period, such as the 1973 version of Westworld and the 1951 version of The Day the Earth Stood Still, and I just realized that it's counting down. Anyway, we'll start with the one on the right, since it's the oldest one. That's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Not the original poster, but I'm going with it. So, basically, that was Disney's first animated movie, and the one that just kind of defined its personality of taking the classic fairy tale and adapting it to a more nowadays setting. In the middle, we have The Day the Earth Stood Still, which, when I was researching special effects, was what everyone said was the start of the special effects industry, so I went with it. And I got The Day the Earth Stood Still, which according to Time magazine was a great movie, but if we look back on it nowadays, it just doesn't stand up to films, such as the 1973 version of Westworld, which was the first use of 2D CGI in order to show what the cyborg cowboy was seeing. Now, the same directors of Westworld, according to Empire.com, later released Future World, which was the first use of 3D CGI. And that leads us to where the film industry nowadays, with Avatar basically taking the concept of the 3D CGI in Future World and blowing it out of the water, giving us the story of blue Smurf cats fighting giant robots. And then we have Independence Day, where apparently a satellite repairman can find out that alien signals are coming to Earth. I still don't get it. And we have Frozen with the song that no one could get out of their head, no matter how hard we try. Trust me, I tried banging my head on a wall, still didn't get it out. And once again, Frozen took the classic story of the Ice Queen and adapted it to a more nowadays setting. And that leads me to how film industry is also still being taken into a different light, with Smosh having over 17 million subscribers and just taking the films, making short format sketches and releasing them on the internet. And they basically industrialized it for the internet, making I don't know how much money, because no matter how much I researched it, YouTube just wouldn't release that amount of money, wouldn't release the much money they pay them. But there is one thing that I know. The internet has basically led them to online popularity. Now with the internet, it was released 1969 as the ARPANET, and basically the US was paranoid about the Soviet Union taking out their telephone lines, so they had to find a different way to relay messages, so that way they wouldn't be able to not communicate with one another. So that led to the ARPANET, which used radio waves to transmit messages, which basically it would take the packet, cut it up into squares, and then send it to that location through multiple lines. And there was then, in 1972, it was released to people who had private computers. It was one man who made that symbol and the whole invention of the email. Basically, according to, can't remember her name right off the top of my head, he took the codes that relayed the messages and the packets, and he combined the two codes and he made emails. It's not like anyone here uses those. Honestly, the last time I sent an email was when I had an AOL account. Now it's all Gmail. Which leads us to the internet in the middle years, with everyone jumping on, creating memes, and doing whatever they can with it. Now, the reason I believe that the internet has become so popular, and the History Channel agrees with me on this, was the fact that it could be used for anything. Basically, it was never limited to one thing, and that's what the creators of it wanted. Such as one man in Australia, he created the web, and he's called it the web because it reminds him of a spy web with it connecting to all parts of the world. And it was college students who also took the idea and made the standardized window view that we still use nowadays. Which leads us to where the internet is now, with YouTube showing us that cats have in fact dominated the web. And Facebook proving that I do in fact have over 2,000 friends. Now if you asked me to name all of them, I would have to just stare at you for a while and come up with an old name like Billy Bob. And Google proving that in fact Voldemort is stealing your shampoo. I actually looked that up over the internet over the weekend. It was hilarious. And which leads us to the king of the web. Anyone know who this guy is? Okay. Apparently you're in the small minority because he has over 25 million subscribers. And to put that into perspective, that's roughly around the size of Los Angeles. Basically, he's a Swedish Let's Player whose real name is Felix something something Swedish name. Now, basically, you want to know how he became so popular? He released Let's Plays with a face cam in it. Basically, a Let's Play is where you take a video game, you record it through your computer, and then you release it onto YouTube. And through doing that, he has gained wide success, but in order to understand his success, you would have to understand video games. Basically, just like for film, it's hard to understand what the first video game in fact was. So I had to base it on popularity, because otherwise, according to ICHG.org, it would be the 1940s version of a computer playing a match game, and with the computer winning most rounds. But this one in the 1980s, released by Atari, was first released in the arcade, but people said it was too hard to play. So it was later released on the brown box in homes with people playing it widely. And that would eventually lead to Space Invaders, Pac-Man, and the likes. But it was also thanks to Atari that the video game started to die down, thanks to the video game adaptation of Steven Spielberg's E.T. And the game was so horrible that people actually took the game cartridges and buried them in New Mexico. Yes, in fact, they have found the burial site. It's a fun fact. And it was only through the works of Nintendo, which released the Game Boy SP, which I have a real version up by my stand if anyone wants to check it out, that video games are brought back thanks to Mario, a bad Italian plumber, who is made in Japan, is Italian, yet speaks American. I don't get it. Basically, the PlayStation over there was the first one to make it more modern days, releasing the 108 polygon graphics, with that being roughly around 64 polygons. Which leads us into where video games are now, with Minecraft showing that cubes and mining can in fact make anything. And the PlayStation 4 allowing people to share their greatest moments online through a share adaptation, eliminating the need for PewDiePie to actually use his computer anymore. Making he can in fact throw it out the window. And Oculus Rift finally proving that science fiction is now reality with its alternate reality goggles. I mean virtual reality. Which leads me to my conclusion. Where do we go from here? like I said, with the Oculus Rift, we have virtual reality now. So where do we go? Do we put people into a cube like, okay, this is a great idea, someone write it down. We put people into a room, we create virtual reality around them, and we call that movies. Genius! But where do we go with the internet? I mean, is the next big thing Google Glasses? Which I was intending to use, but my teacher wouldn't let me because they cost over $100,000 and she didn't trust me. I'm trustworthy! But where we go with video games now, we have virtual reality. Honestly, I cannot say